What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we've already had a ton of announcements in 2025 just in the first half of January for handhelds here coming throughout 2025, all from CES and after CES as well. So I thought, at least so far anyway, from what we know, and might speculate a little bit on this list, we'd talk about some of the most anticipated handhelds coming in 2025. It's definitely a lot bigger list than something we would have had last year, and I figured that would be the case as the floodgates really open up this year for handhelds, and then we continue to see improvements from now to 26 to 2027 when things really get interesting for handhelds. But anyway, I thought it'd be fun to take a look at this. We'll take a look at some of the handhelds that I see as some of the most anticipated. Of course, it's just my opinion. You guys feel free to throw in your anticipated handhelds for 2025 in the comments. We'll also do some honorable mentions and talk about one of the handhelds that I think was probably one of the biggest losers of CES and all the announcements here in January for 2025, but I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on that as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so I'll kind of go through these in order, but I think number 5 when it comes to the list would be whatever the next handheld is from Asus, the ROG Ally line. And I say that because I think that even though it hasn't been announced yet, with looking at what everybody else is doing with Lenovo and everything, and the Z2 Extreme chip on the way, a lot of us are probably anticipating what is Asus going to announce and launch most likely this summer, as they've typically done for the past couple of devices. So I know it hasn't been announced yet, but I think a lot of people are really kind of hanging on waiting to see what they announce, especially looking at the line that Lenovo put out, which we'll be talking more about. It's a pretty diverse line there, and I think Asus is going to do a similar thing. I think they're going to have a SteamOS version and a Windows version, possibly bigger screens, more battery life, Z2 Extreme options, and all of that. But of course, they haven't announced it yet. Hopefully they will stick with their summer thing, because I'd be looking forward to that as well. But yeah, I think a lot of people would be anticipating that this year. Next up for number 4, I'd have to say the MSI Claw 7 and 8, maybe more specifically the MSI Claw 8 with its larger screen size, but they should be the same performance, seeing as they are the same Ultra 7 chip, same amount of RAM and all of that. I'm testing the MSI Claw 8 here now. It was announced a while ago and review units started to go out in December, but as far as purchasing here where I'm at in the States, release was January 15th. I got mine on the 13th, and some people over in Europe and other areas can't order them yet, or they just opened up orders today, and ours have been pushed back again here until February. But I think a lot of people have been anticipating this new Series 2 Ultra 7 chipset from Intel, and for good reason. The MSI Claw is very much improved over the original Claw that came out, and Intel has done a really good job of catching up and really making a pretty good leap from their first Series Ultra to their second. I don't think it's necessarily going to be the device for everybody in 2025, and it'll probably get overshadowed by Asus and Legion, Lenovo and all of that, but it's been a solid device here so far, and I got a lot more videos coming out on it, and I think a lot of Intel fans and MSI fans have been anticipating this device because it is supposed to be so much better, and is so much better than the original Claw. So I wanted to put that on here. I think a lot of people are looking forward to that or are trying to order one now. All right, and number 3 on here, I gotta say, Lenovo has done a really good job of putting together a very diverse lineup from budget to more high-end expensive for 2025. And I think one of their most anticipated devices might be the Legion Go S with the Z2 Go custom APU from AMD and SteamOS as the operating system. A lot of people have been waiting for Valve to expand beyond the Steam Deck, and Lenovo is the first official device to have licensed SteamOS over there, and it's going to be starting at $499 in May for the Z2 Go model. So this is going to be a great entry point, a great budget device. It looks solid, looks really nice, and we'll just have to see kind of how it works out. But I think a lot of people are looking forward to checking this one out and are really anticipating it, and I'll definitely be trying it out here on the channel and doing a review as well come May when those things really do release. But yeah, I think this is at the top of the list for a lot of people to check out. All right, and moving up to number 2 on this list, and for many people, probably number 1. And today, actually, the time of making this video, we're only a few hours out from the time that Nintendo officially revealed the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, we've been getting a ton of leaks on the Nintendo Switch 2 for months, and most of those turned out to be pretty true. But the device looks solid. I'm a huge fan of Nintendo. I don't cover it a lot here, but I love the Switch, and I've been waiting for a new Switch for a while. I think a lot of us kind of moved on for the past year or two, maybe some of you longer, due to getting pretty long in the tooth on the hardware. But I really like the look of the new modernized design of the Switch 2. We weren't looking for a reinvention of the wheel, just a bigger, more powerful Switch that hopefully will play more games, play them better, and just overall be a better device than the original Switch, which is an amazing device in itself. But yeah, I think this is a very, very anticipated, if not the most anticipated handheld of 2025. And if I were any other channel, it would probably be at number one just for me here as well. But there is another handheld that I think for myself and a lot of other people are just really hyped for, at least so far anyway from what we know here, and that's going to be coming up next for number one. And so far, I think from everything that's been announced up to this point, early January 2025, which is already a lot, the Lenovo Legion Go 2 is probably the most talked about and anticipated handheld PC that I have seen yet. And even when Asus has their announcement, those guys are going to be going neck and neck. A lot of people are really looking forward to Legion Go 2. We're looking at a Z2 Extreme, a landscape VRR OLED display, redesigned detachable controllers, which are supposed to be backwards compatible to the original Legion Go, keeping the kickstand, the 8.8-inch screen. It's going to be gorgeous and it's going to be a beast. And if you were a fan at all of the original Legion Go, this thing's going to be fantastic. And I think a ton of people are holding out for this handheld. I think it's going to be pricey. I think it's going to be more than a lot of people anticipate it to be. But I also think that when it comes to handheld PCs, at least so far, it's got to be one of the most talked about, most anticipated handhelds here for 2025. And I know I'm really looking forward to getting hands-on with it. All right, so that's the top 5, at least for now. Things are always subject to change. I think that's kind of what people are talking about, what I'm talking about with other creators and friends and other people interested in the handhelds. But there's always more to be announced for 2025, and we never know how things are going to pan out. And everybody has their own personal preferences and tastes. So this is just my take on it so far. Again, definitely hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you're looking forward to most. Again, I think Nintendo Switch 2 is really big on a lot of people's list, but so is that Legion Go 2, and I'm sure some other devices as well. But I've also got some honorable mentions and a device that I don't think did so hot at CES that I want to talk about. So let's start off with those honorable mentions. The zotac Zone 2 is coming at some point in 2025. They showed this at CES, and they had even announced prior to CES that they would be there. Their original Zone launched back in August of 2024, but it wasn't available in all markets and didn't do very well. They came pretty late with some older hardware, and it just wasn't going to get any traction. They're coming back pretty quick a few months later now and announcing the new Zone zotac 2, or the zotac Zone 2, and it's going to be using the AMD AI 370 APU with the 890M GPU. It's going to be pretty beefy. It should perform pretty well, but it is stuck in that older 7-inch model that they had last year. It's just in white now instead of black. So we'll have to see how it does, but at least they were jumping into something new for that one and trying to catch up. We also have the 1xFly F1 Pro. Again, another device using the new AMD AI series, the 300 series. They've got a 365 and 370 variant on this. They are a bit pricey, but I thought it was worth mentioning. They came to CES and showed a lot of fantastic devices, and this just happened to be one that I found to be pretty interesting, and some people might be interested in checking out and picking up. Again, it is a bit pricey, but it is using that new AI 300 series. And the third and final honorable mention for so far when it comes to announcements in 2025, another handheld coming this year, probably for around 150 bucks, is the Atari Game Station Go. And this isn't a PC handheld either, just like the Switch, but if you're someone like me who grew up in the 80s and the 90s and you played the Atari games and then NES and all of that, this is pretty cool. It even has the trackball on it, the full keypad for all the different arcade games and Atari games and stuff, and it got a pretty good reception at CES. So this is one I am actually looking forward to this year as well, and might even get to check it out here on the channel. As far as the company that came to CES and had their announcements here in January for what's coming for them in 2025 was Acer. And I was actually really looking forward to Acer when they came to the market with handhelds. I've talked for a couple of years about how I thought they've always done a good job with their budget devices, and I expected them to bring something pretty friendly to the market. But it appears that that's not necessarily the case. Prior to CES, it was announced they would use the new AMD AI 300 series chips and be on par with everything else coming out this year. But at the announcement, it turns out they have a 7-inch, 8-inch, and 11-inch model, but all of them are using the 8840HS chip, which was like a rebranded 7840U that came out back in December of 2023. And it's not that it's a horrible APU or anything, but the thing is, it's going to be competing up against all these other devices that are coming out with newer hardware from Intel and AMD on all different sides, and even with the Switch with the new NVIDIA stuff. So this is a bit older in hardware, and if it was budget price, that would be fine. But from my understanding on these devices, they're kind of expensive and right up there with the other handhelds and hardware. And I think that's going to hurt Acer this year, and they're going to have to play catch up if they want to move devices. They're going to have to do something else either later in the year or come back next year with hardware that matches what's coming out with everyone else and is actually in that year and not getting so old when it releases. So that's just my opinion on that one. I know some people are really looking forward to those devices, but when it came to the hardware and the pricing I was seeing out of CES, I just felt like they were the company that stumbled in comparison to everyone else. Anyways, guys, thanks a lot for coming to watch. That'll do it. That's my top 5, at least for now. It could change. Let me know yours. Some honorable mentions in there. And Acer, I think, kind of stumbled out of the gate here at CES for 2025. But let me know what you guys think. Anyways, thanks a lot for coming to watch. As always, I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one.